Hello YouTube. Today I have a series of real-world cavity wax tests slash PV surface shield tests. In the first test I will be spraying each of these on an upright board, on a vertical board, just to test the flowability of each product. Talk a little bit about that. And second of all, I'll be spraying two of these cavity waxes on this test rocker panel, which I've cut a gap in and then welded, and then put body filler on the outside just to simulate a real world test. First in line we have 3M's newest cavity wax, I believe. They have a number of them on the market. Unlike most other brands, I believe this is their newest entry to the lineup. This is a thicker type of cavity wax, and it is amber. They claim this stuff expands, which I'm really interested to see. So we're going to be testing that. Second in line we have SEM's only product, very similar to this thicker 3M product, I believe. Thirdly, we have Crest's Honeycoat, and this is what I have used mostly. This stuff is different in the other products in that it is very, very runny. You spray this inside a panel, it will flow out through the bottom and you'll have a big mess. And fourthly, we have TransStar's cavity wax, sort of similar to Honeycoat, maybe not quite as runny. These first four are genuine cavity waxes. Something you wouldn't really want to touch or breathe, but more of a long lasting product that you would use in the body shop after you weld on, join a panel, or stuff of that nature. Stuff that would last for a long time. Fifth in line, just for fun, if nothing else, PV surface shield. So perhaps I should mention I'm not biased or sponsored by any of these brands. My objective is only to do a real world test, testing flowability, capillary action, and to do a real world test on a rocker panel as it might be welded together in the body shop. This panel here, I've tried to simulate two exact scenarios giving equal gaps as I spray this stuff on here. What I've tried to simulate also is grinding the galvanizing and OEM finish off of the one side. I don't know if I got all that much galvanizing off, but as the panel would sit on the car, you might not be able to get to it, so I left the one side just with the paint on there and everything. And so I've cut in here and welded them both together. I plan to spray 3M and SEM on there, do a side-by-side showdown. And my reason for doing 3M and SEM by comparing these two only is because, maybe because of my laziness, but also because I consider these to be the two heavyweight cavity waxes on the market. So the flowability test, first 3M. Seems to be pretty thick, not really flowable. Crest, just sprayed a little bit on there and you can see how well that's running. TransStar, and PB. All right. Alright, for the results of the not so sophisticated runniness test, I've had this panel propped up vertical for about 5 minutes. And PB is by far the runningest. Crest being second, then Transtar, then SEM, then 3M. Moving on to the real world auto body repair joining panel test. My plan is to get both these to hold my blocker up to like here. Spray both of them on there. And I'll have to do that off camera because I don't have 3 hands. We'll let this set for a couple days at least and see what happens. Okay, so this has been a number of weeks since I've conducted this test. It doesn't appear as though it's got very much creep upward on the panel. I had it resting like this for the entire time. Maybe just minuscule amounts of creep. But we'll only really know once we spray it with the rusting solution, which I have right here. So we'll spray it down, then wait a little longer. I might give it a couple sprays after I let it set a little while, just so we can really tell. Spray the whole entire thing down to see how well the products protect the metal, and then also how much they might have seeped up or not seeped up to the top of the rocker section. Next, I will be testing the upward creep of these. I've cleaned bare metal and I've cut 5 pieces roughly the same length, and I've taped off half of them. I've degreased all of these and then applied masking tape on the area I do not want to hit, and I will be spraying these off camera, and I intend to do an even layer of each product, and then we will set them up against something and see if they can creep upward at all. So you can go online and see 3M's and also SEM's test where they do something similar, and what they do is get 2 pieces and spray some of their product into a can and then set them together like that, and that, as their tests show, does capillary action, which is when you have 2 pieces against each other, and obviously as it's setting in solution some of it will creep upward, but that to me is not a good test. And the 2 reasons for that are, number 1, when you spray cavity wax on the inside of a rocker panel, you're not setting it in solution, so there's not too much of it there. There's not a puddle at the bottom of the rocker oftentimes. And number 2, seldom are your panels ever together like this where you would need to have it creep together on a lap joint like that. Now there are some situations like that, but in the real world test that I'm going to do, I'm going to have just one, and that's going to simulate how well this stuff can creep upward and defy gravity. To be honest, I don't have a whole lot of hope for this test, but I believe it is a real world test, and so we're going to do it this way. So I've just sprayed the products on these degreased bare metal samples. As you can see, the lines are all roughly the same. After I let them set for at least 24 hours, I'll spray the rusting agent on them, and then we'll really be able to determine which of these have had any upward creep. I've sprayed the rusting agent on this panel a number of times after I applied the cavity waxes. Both the cavity waxes, the SEM and the 3M, did a good job of protecting the various results of what you have when you weld a panel together. Obviously you see the rust there where the products weren't applied. There wasn't really any upward creep on either of the products. But there you have it. Lastly, the upward creep test. On each of these samples, it doesn't appear as though there was any upward creep. The only one that seems to show a little bit of promise would be the PB. If you see right there, the line where it ended, and then where the corrosion started, it looks a little bit inhibited, but all in all, nothing really to show. The rest of them stopped exactly at the line. My takeaway from this test would be, if you want this stuff to protect your metal, you have to get it in there. You have to get it actually sprayed on the spots you want protected. This stuff will not creep at all. It's not magic. It's not gonna do wonders. If you need your metal protected, you have to get it in there. You have to be able to get it in there to get it sprayed in there where it counts. And there you have it. In conclusion, I thought I would share some of my thoughts of each of these. The 3M, first of all, very thick consistency. Spray pattern is very wide. I'm not sure why 3M thought to do that. It doesn't seem like it would be very useful to me to have it spray out so wide. Of course, you could probably get a different tip. Be that as it may, I'm not going to be buying this stuff. Secondly, the SEM. I'm going to be honest, I really like the SEM. If I could have one cavity wax, I think SEM would be it. It seems to flow. It covers relatively well. And yeah, I like the SEM. It doesn't smell very strong, doesn't give a strong odor. Another positive thing about it, which is also why I like it. The honey coat, very runny. Might be useful if I ever want to make sure it gets into a crevice somewhere. But other than that, you can't lay it really thick. It just runs almost like water. The Transtar, it's a little bit thicker than the Crest. I see no reason why this stuff wouldn't work for most uses. And lastly, the PB. I just threw this one in there for what it's worth. It's not a die-hard commercial product, but it does smell nice. It does flow pretty good, and it is partly petroleum, so it will last longer than fluid film. And if you want to see my video on that, I made a video on that as well, pitting blaster against the fluid film. Alright, there you have it. There's my real world test. And there you go, 3M and SEM, proving why this stuff doesn't creep, proving that it works pretty well if you can get it there, and showing you the flowability rates of each. Alright, so long, till next time.